Well, welcome to the Business Spotlight series. My name is Tanner O'Brien. I'm a senior partner here at Action Coach in Central Texas. Today, I'm sitting down with Maryna, who is the founder of Growth Channel. So excited to be jumping in, having some conversation around business, entrepreneurship, kind of this, I don't know, crazy journey of business that many of us are on. So Maryna, I want to say thank you for taking the time to be here. Why don't we just start with a little bit of background? Give us the 10,000 foot view of who you are. Tell us kind of your background and tell us a little bit about Growth Channel.
Thanks, Tanner. And excited to be here at your show. Thanks for inviting. And yeah, so my background is in digital marketing and I've been doing that for about 15 years now. Worked with companies like Allianz Insurance, Philips Electronics, had a media holding for a while, and I'm working on a technology company called Growth Channel. And if you guys haven't heard about it, it's an advertising technology platform. I'm also based in Austin, north side of the city, but work with a lot of businesses throughout the nation.
Very cool. So give us a little bit deeper dive on Growth Channel. So um, for those that have never heard of it before, that they're this is their first time kind of experience anything like that. Give us kind of the maybe the technical side of like what is it that y'all do?
Yeah, for sure. So with Growth Channel, we allow any business to target very niche audiences and then reach them at scale on any digital channel outside of the traditional social media and search engines. For example, let's say, hey, I would really love to target people who went to that store last month so that I can track them for my Valentine's Day promotion this month, right? So with our platform, you're able to identify that very specific audience. Maybe you want to narrow it down some demographics, interests, etc. And you can reach them on their phone, their laptop, when they listen to radio, when they watch TV, or pass by a digital billboard. So essentially on many other channels outside of Facebook, let's say.
Very cool. I love that. And how did you get into, we'll just say digital marketing in general? So obviously a kind of a growth in your journey here, and now kind of being digital marketing and technology kind of coming together. But what drew you to it? How did you get kind of the start into this general industry?
Yeah, well, generally in marketing, that started a long time ago when I went to university. But yeah, I actually studied marketing. I chose that for my major. That was back in Netherlands, long time ago. But after that, I also worked at Allianz to help them build lead management structure, and I found that fascinating. I also worked within financial industry further down the road with some stock markets, with banks, insurance companies, and it's kind of boring industry, you can say, but you got to be really creative when it comes to marketing, to think outside of the box. Okay, how are we going to make this boring stuff actually fun? So that excited me, and I just kind of continued and flew along.
Very cool. What do you love about marketing in general? Kind of if you had to kind of like narrow it down into why you enjoy marketing in general, how would you describe that?
I think it's just like you take the data. So I'm a data person. So it's like taking the data, but also make something fun and creative out of it. So it's not just looking at the numbers. I don't like math that much, for example, but you look at the numbers and then you make something out of it, like something creative, right? So let's say, hey, we see a trend here with this blog post or something, right? It's actually doing really well. Why is it doing well? Let's look deeper, right? Let's investigate this. And then, oh, like, look at this keyword. It's really going up and the trend is up. Like, let's double down on that keyword. So things like that. So it's just kind of drilling down into details and then making something cool out of it.
Oh man, I love that so much. I've had the opportunity to talk with a lot of businesses that do marketing for their business, still maybe learning marketing for their business. And one of the things that's often overlooked is the amount of detail and kind of data driven decisions that actually can happen in marketing, and marketing can actually be phenomenal when you actually understand that piece. So I totally resonate with that and love it. um, so founded Growth Channel, kind of continued on that path. what was the catalyst to founding your own company versus continuing to work with other companies out there?
Yeah, so I've done both before as well, before Growth Channel. So at the Media Holding, I was one of the co-founders, had that for about a decade. I was like my first enterprise, you can say. We grew pretty big. We had like 4 offices across Europe, a relatively big team. So it was fun, it was a lot of fun. And I was just kind of comparing that experience to more corporate experience when I was working with Philips and Allianz. Those are amazing, by the way, amazing companies to work at if you like working like at a company. But there are some limitations. It's like I'm doing great, but like I could do much more, right? Like you can do so much more, and just like the impact that I feel around like the work that I put into place just has different feeling for me. And I like to do like a little bit of different things sometimes, right? So have that kind of a little bit of a creative spirit in me. And yeah, it was like that's what I enjoy doing. And I also like the freedom component. So yeah, just like a little bit of everything. I guess there are many reasons to it.
Very cool. And with starting Growth Channel and having the experience that you've had, and being part of another business that you helped grow and were a co-founder of, the approach to this one, is this one 100% on your own? Did you have a couple business partners or co-founders with you in starting Growth Channel? Kind of what is that transition looked like for you?
Yeah, so this one is like a completely different game. The previous one was like fully on profits, right? Like kind of you call it like bootstrapped in like fancy words, right, these days. But with Growth Channel, I decided to try something different. So this is actually a VC-backed company. We're a C corporation. I work for my company, so it's like very different. So yeah, I mean, like I can't say if I like one more or the other, but it's just different.
What would you say is like the most obvious difference between kind of the two ways of starting a company?
Well, more paperwork to deal with, I would say is one. And then you have to also think about investors in addition to everything else. You have to think about like employees and customers and partners. You also have to think about investors. So almost probably a little bit more work, but it's something different. Yeah.
I love it. So you mentioned a few different things, but one of them being you also work for your own business, that sort of thing. So what is your role within the company today? Like, what is your kind of day to day day to day job look like? How many different hats or departments do you get to kind of have your hands in these days?
Yeah, I must probably still stick my head into all departments, but I am the CEO. But yeah, I own like majority shares still within the company, but it is a kind of I'm working for the companies still at the same time. But yeah, I'm kind of overseeing joining the team calls with like our development team, and CTO leads the team call. I put myself on mute, just like nice and quiet there whenever I can. Not every meeting, they have like daily stand-ups. But I'm just like, sometimes I may join that. Sometimes I may join like the AdOps call, right? Again, they do their thing. I put myself on mute and maybe I have something to share. But for marketing, I kind of have more involvement in marketing and sales team than the AdOps and let's say development calls. I also do a lot of things on partnerships, investor relations, so quite a lot, most probably, but also more involved with like the financial component with our CFO. So yeah, everything that is not development and operational, I would say I'm still pretty involved in.
Excellent. Is there like one of those areas that you enjoy more than all the rest?
Yeah, so I still love most probably the most just kind of driving user experience component. So I love hopping on calls with customers, like existing clients, and just kind of hearing from them like what they enjoy doing, maybe some suggestions. They always have suggestions, which is cool. So they will share their experience, they'll share, oh, and it would be cool to also maybe have that. And I'm like, okay, cool, maybe something to bring to the development call, right? So things of that nature. So I really enjoy interacting with customers that we have and just kind of hearing from them about their experience. I also like driving the partnerships component. So I think that's really cool. Um, Yeah, I mean, like I think everything is fun when it's going in the right direction, so to say, because we as founders and entrepreneurs, I mean, there could be like a day when you're like a little bit more calm, and there could be a day when we're like not as calm.
Oh, that is so true. So speaking of, working with clients and getting that feedback and everything, when you look at just the general clientele that you work with, who primarily does your business serve? So if I'm in the audience and I'm watching this later on, how would I know that I'm a really good fit for this product, or I might know somebody that I should be referring over?
Yeah, so we work a lot with agencies and marketing teams. So people who like understand marketing, that's most probably vast majority of our clients. But sometimes we have clients that are not exactly within that target profile, but they still use our platform. Those could be like, business owners, startup founders who do a lot of things and wear a lot of hats, which is okay. And one of the things they do is, driving the growth for their own business. So some of them also use our platform. So that happens too.
Hmm. I love it. So, I would be silly not to ask a few questions on marketing in general. It's a topic that I personally absolutely love asking questions about, and just kind of hearing different philosophies and ideas, especially since knowing most of the folks that will watch this conversation later on, are business owners, and not every business owner has marketing just completely, clicking in the background. So learning and hearing different things is always a really positive in some of the conversation. So especially for your business as you continue to grow it, what has been your philosophy to marketing? What have you all done that has worked really well? What are some things that maybe haven't worked quite as well for your industry? Or maybe just some general marketing tips that you can provide to the audience?
Yeah, I can answer the first one very easily. For the second one, a little bit more tricky, most probably. But um, so what we do, so we do lots of things just because I'm a marketer by nature. So I'm like, okay, we need to do, obviously we have like a whole marketing plan for that. But the things that work the best for us or have worked the best to attract our top clients are usually like in-person interactions, events. Sometimes it's also online events, but events in general has been the top tactic strategy channel for us to acquire the top customers that we have today. Online and offline, and also because we had COVID a few years ago and all that, so lots of the things happen online. But these days we are also trying to meet a lot more in person with and get to some industry events as well. But we also do many other things. We do content marketing, so we do publish a lot. We have great SEO traffic. So we have like inbound leads, like we don't pay for leads, they're just like come through the website organically, which is perfect. And then we have obviously a funnel strategy. I'm not going to dive too much deeper into it, but we have different segments. And based on different segments, let's say you're interested about personas. You read a blog article about personas. Great. From the blog, you got into the pop-up that talk a little bit more about personas and generating your own persona. You're like, click. You go to landing page. You get a free template. You're in our email flow, right? You've got some remarketing there with some remarketing ads, things like that. So we do have funnel strategy to that as well, which is pretty segmented. We do still lots, I would say, social activities, but we don't invest too much into it because it has proven not to be a prospecting channel for us,
Mm.
statistically speaking. So that's like one thing that we learned. Hint for businesses, I would say test channels. Don't test more than like 3 at a time. That's maybe the maximum. If you're not a marketer, maybe just do 1 at a time. That's a great idea. To see if it works and spend enough time and allocate some sort of resources. Doesn't necessarily always mean money. Sometimes it means how much time will I put into it? Or like, am I going to hire someone? Like those kind of things, right? I mean, you can do outbound email. Maybe that will work. It worked for us a few years ago. It hasn't really worked that much well for us recently. So some tactics you may also want to, check back on and see if it's an old tactic. Does it still work today? what are the recent KPIs, and have clear KPIs, which will be the same KPI for all of your channels. For example, how many leads I got, how many calls I made, if you need to make calls, how many customers I got, what's the ROI, right? Like all those things. And then you can compare channels and see what works. Not everything works for everyone. So there isn't really one great channel that will work for every business. It's always different.
Amazing. I love that you articulate it that way. I'll just share very quickly that that was a big deal for us. We about I don't know about a year ago, we're kind of forced to put all of our data down into here's all the different channels that we're doing. Here's all of the KPIs next to each other so we could see it. And there was like, oh, there's 3 channels that stand out and work way better than the rest. Maybe we should just focus on those 3 first to make those as strong as possible, and then we can test other ones. And it made a world of difference.
Yep.
Um, it's just so cool to see how some of that works. So phenomenal advice. If you're a business owner, yes, just start with like 1 or maybe 3 and just test them, make sure they work before moving on and doing other things. Very cool. So as you look towards the future, as you continue to grow the company and build the business, what's the vision look like? Where do you see the business heading in the next 3 to 5 years? How does your role change within the company as it continues to grow and scale?
Yeah. So most probably I'll be less involved in more calls, like with, let's say, finance team, or I mean, still involved, but maybe less involved. Maybe some of the partnerships and things like that. So maybe just like get a little bit less involved and more focus on the like strategy, which I still block my calendar, just make sure nobody blocks me in on that time. But yeah, it's really like focus more on the big picture and a strategy. I would still love to interact with customers, though I would never get rid of that. I guess that's important to get that feedback. But yeah, I mean, like a few years from now, so we are definitely looking to grow the business. We are VC backed, so we definitely at the end of the light, we are looking at potentially having an exit with maybe a strategic partner in the future. So that's something that we're looking forward to.
Very cool. Well, I know we've covered a lot of ground. I want to be respectful of the time that we have here today. I've got a few kind of rapid fire questions that I always love to ask. Just really just pull out some additional wisdom nuggets for the audience, kind of some key takeaways, that sort of thing. So a handful of them here. The first one, when you look at kind of your journey through building previous business to just journey through career and now building growth channel, what would you say for you has been your key to success?
Yeah, so I think that's maybe my organization skills. At least that's what I think. Others may think different, but I'm a pretty organized person. I didn't always have that skill, but I think I really nailed it when I spent my few years in Netherlands. So very organized nation.
Excellent. I love that. What about advice? If you could give just one piece of advice for other entrepreneurs out there, small business owners, entrepreneurs, founders, if you could just leave one piece of advice, which one would you want to give them?
I think sometimes like you need to take a step back and really look at everything that you're doing and then see what's actually making sense from everything that you're making and doing in your whole day. Like what actually made an impact. Uh, Maybe look at your day to start. Maybe look at the week next time, and then look at the whole months, right? And really see, hey, what actually makes sense to double down on and continue versus maybe erase some of those other activities or postpone if they're less important or don't make an impact.
Mm.
So I think like this kind of prioritization can be really important because we as entrepreneurs, we are like doing so many things, right? And we only have so many hours in a day. And well, February is also a short month. So, right, like you don't have as many days in a month to even make things happen. So, really trying to prioritize the activities and see what is more important than something else. What maybe there is one activity that you do that actually makes 70% of maybe the total revenue that you made last month. I don't know. But like really evaluate those activities and then focus on those and then maybe, think what you're going to do with the rest that have very low impact.
Mm. That's such a good piece of advice. Yeah, phenomenal. So, excuse me. How about book recommendations? Now, I'll even phrase this as just learning recommendations because I realize that not everybody reads a whole bunch of books. But any recommendations that we give, either a book that you're currently reading or read most recently, maybe a book you've listened to, or even like a podcast or something that you would recommend, anything that you would give to the audience as a recommendation.
Yeah, so end of last year, I went for a trip, and this is a time when I usually have time to read the book. So I read Hard Things About Hard Things. That was amazing. So definitely recommend it. It was written by co-founders of Andreessen Horowitz, which is one of the biggest VCs out there. And it's just like amazing book about startup journey, about founder journey, entrepreneurship in general, and all the hard stuff that we deal with every day. And they're just like, and that's normal, right? And this is how I overcame it, and things like that. So sometimes it's just about keep on pushing things. That's kind of the general thing about the book, but overall, it's just lots of cool stuff inside it. So highly recommend it.
Phenomenal recommendation. I know that one's come up a couple times in my conversations, and I have not had a chance to read it yet. So it is on my want to read list, and I have not gotten there yet, but it is
Definitely do that.
going up on the priority list. Um, all right, before we get to the final question of the day, for those that are in the audience that want to learn a little bit more, that maybe want to connect with you, check out Growth Channel a little bit more, where can we advise them to go for more information?
Yeah, definitely check growthchannel.com. And if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, that's usually a good spot. Yeah, I would love to chat more if you have any like follow-up questions or anything like this. So yeah, definitely check it out and see maybe there's a synergy there.
Beautiful. For those that are watching, I'll make sure to put all of that in the video description below. So please go click the links, check everything out. Send me a message on LinkedIn. Just say, hey, saw you in the business spotlight. Great conversation. Just wanted to connect. Especially for those of us here in Central Texas. It's always good to just make some additional connections and start some conversation. So please take a moment and do that once we wrap up the conversation. But Maryna, as we finish up, I always like to end on one final question, which is simply, what is most inspiring to you today?
Yeah, I mean, like, that's a great question. I have to most probably think about it. But the most thing that has inspired me recently is just like how fast our environment is changing. And so OpenAI released ChatGPT to public last year, and it just like changed things so much, even though AI has been there for a long time. And I'm just like looking at it, I was like, oh my God, like people just change their mind like this just because they released it to public. So anything is possible. And if you're working on something new and cool, maybe when you release it to public, it will also change the whole world. So I think like just keep on pushing it and showcase your great work. And if you're not working on something innovative, but you can also utilize some other innovative tools to make your work more efficient, because there are so many things you can do today with AI and automation. So really cool stuff.
I love it. Well, Marina, I want to say thank you again for taking the time. This has been an absolute pleasure. I know we could probably sit here for another hour or two and just really dive into some nitty gritty stuff, but maybe that'll be another conversation we'll have down the road. But thank you so much for being here. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Tanner. Have a great day, everyone.